We have a professional, joining us on the show this morning, and she's Dr. Maymunah Kadiri, popularly referred to as the celebrity shrink. She's a multiple award-winning neuropsychiatrist and mental health advocate with almost 20 years experience. By now, she is the only Nigerian with the 14 Ps: physician, psychiatrist, psychologist, psychotherapist, practitioner, published author, public health advocate, producer, proficient coach, public speaker, parent, philanthropist, purpose-driven, and passionate about God and life. The executive producer of award-winning movies Pepper Soup, which focuses on drug abuse, and Little Drops of Happy, focused on depression, postpartum depression, and suicide, and creator of the most innovative mental health app in Africa, Our Body. She also contributes to articles published in magazines and newspapers. A recognized transformation speaker, innovator, mentor, and a mother of 3 lovely children. She is a member of several professional and social organizations locally and internationally. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Dr. Maymunah Kadiri. Good morning. Good morning. How are you doing today?
Good morning.
Yes, I bet it's safe to say Happy Children's Day to you as well.
Yeah, I am somebody's child.
Of course. Happy Children's Day. Happy Children's Day. It's nice catching up with you.
I love you going to the studio.
All right. So what are you doing specially for your kids today?
I won't say sadly, somehow they're in school. It's a phase in my life. So I'm in the nesting phase, which is the empty nest syndrome, no children at home. So it's just sending my love to them, calling them, checking up on how they are. My 18-year-old daughter is closer home because she's in a foundation school. So I'm going to gift her some groceries as a surprise gift for her. And then the boys, I'll just call them later in the evening as the school recommends to just say how they are doing, because I know they are going to be treated well. Children's Day is always a very fantastic day for the kids. Yeah.
Right. Well done. All right. So the topic, because we know you're a very busy person, so we will not hold you for too long. So we just, like to tap into your well of knowledge just a little bit before we let you go. So the topic for today's conversation is managing child stars and the impact of stardom on kids. This is a topic that has really been neglected by a lot of people. You see all these kids that are in music these days, in movies, and they just, make sure these kids are going for rehearsals, going for this, going for that, and nobody actually wants to ask them, how are you doing? How is your mental health? Do you need any help in this place or that? But because they're stars, everybody feels they're good. And we've seen how that turned out with so many child stars, both home and abroad. I remember the guy who gave us Home Alone. That guy, he blew us all away growing up and all of that. And he was hooked on drugs, but we're glad it's coming back right now. But, a lot of people have actually neglected that. So we would like to get from a professional, what are the best ways to manage a child star, especially in Nigeria that the condition is harsh enough?
I like the fact the way you ended it, especially in Nigeria, that the condition is harsh.
Yeah.
I jokingly tell my kids that if any of them decide to do anything media and entertainment, I'm going to be a very proud momager. Like literally, we are going to be running the race together.
Like Burna Boy and his mom.
Sorry?
Like Burna Boy and his mother.
You understand?
Yeah.
It's so beautiful,
Yeah.
So for me, right, it's good for us to understand some basic things. And if as parents, we understand these basic things, it's easier to help our children to thrive, not only to survive, but to thrive. Mental health in general is highly neglected, stigmatized, discriminated against, on and all that. I have an op-ed right now that is online. I think I'll send it to your producer to help spread out. I said, use teachers to help our children to build their mental health. Because when you look at the waking hours for our children, they are more in schools than at home. Sure. But again, parenting is a dual thing. Teachers as parents, parents as teachers. So if our parents understand that it is all about parenting, not projection, because parents easily project their insecurities into their children and make them less of who they are. It is all about support, not slavery. It is all about care, not criticism. It is all about guidance, not guilt tripping them. And it's all about protecting your child, not the propaganda of your limiting beliefs of what you know about parenting, as against the current, ways that you can parent a child in the 21st century. Having a child star, and as a parent managing that star is very pertinent to understand the child's holistic well-being, meaning both physical and mental health attributes of that child. Why is that so? When you look at the statistics from the World Health Organization, they're telling us that half of all mental illnesses start before the age of 14 and two-thirds before the age of 24. That means your child star falls in that group. That means if you have 100 mental health disorders, 50% is before the age of 14. Right. So how do you ensure your child gets the best and miss the chaos and miss the hardship in the country like Nigeria? So you must first thing, resist treating your child as an extension of yourself.
True. Okay. All right.
So, Ma, when a child is already going through depression or anxiety or low self-esteem, what do you advise the parents to do to help this child get out of that state?
Beautiful question. So if we parents understand the background of how these things can affect us, whether it is our projection to this child or peer pressure or environmental issues, then first thing is for us as parents to listen to our children non-judgmentally. Don't just listen. Listen to understand what they are going through, not listening to respond. Parents, we are very quick to respond. We have all the answers, fine, but that is not what the children want. They just want you to nudge them on, listen to them, know exactly what they're feeling, not the one that, how can you be depressed? Do you know how much I'm paying for your school fees? You have a roof over your head. I'm feeding you. And we just keep going on and on and on. Children get depressed. Exactly. Children die by suicide. Parents need to hear this very well. I've had a 9-year-old kill himself. I've had a 14-year-old kill himself. I'm not saying when I was in England or when I was in US or it's happening in US, in Nigeria. So parents need to, to face the current realities that we are all going through, especially this pandemic with the collective trauma that we are all going through. Please, if your child ever comes to you and say, Mom, I need therapy, because the millennials and Generation Z, they are the therapy generation. They are the ones that can easily walk up to their parents and say, I need therapy. Please listen to them. Don't be in denial. Don't trivialize their issues. Help them to get the much needed help that they need, because it's high time we start building the culture of compassion and allowing our children to speak up and speak out and encouraging them to seek for help from the right places, the right people, and of course the right time, which is now.
Okay, Ma, you said for parents, you've already given us the advice, but children spend most of their time in school. So what advice would you give the educational system now in tackling depression, low self-esteem, and anxiety? Because the kids are like, their hours are spent most of the time in school. So what advice do you have for them?
In fact, that was the genesis of my op-ed, that's opinion paper on using teachers to help our children manage their mental health related issues. Why is that pertinent? Research that was released last year says that 1 out of every 5 African children, or African children has had a thought of suicide. And their waking hours more are in school. Before they resume physical school, it was online, So the teachers need to be equipped in the sense that they should be able to pick these early signs and symptoms, should be able to reach out to their parents, should be able to work in collaboration with their parents to seek for that much needed help. So our educational system has to be revamped. It's very key, it's very pertinent, and it is most needed at this point in time. Our educational curriculum must include mental health, not just physical health that will go 30 minutes outside and do that, which is good for our mental health, but include physical health, not embedded into social studies, where they can be well equipped to know all these things, and of course, enhance and train teachers. There are guidelines, there are trainings by the WHO, they call it MH gap, that are for non-clinical settings, that schools should get professionals to come and teach them on basic things: anxiety, depression, suicide, in fact, mental health emergencies, seizures. So they are going to be like mental health first aiders. Yes. Just the way we have CPR people, right, for the physical first aid, so that when these things appear or they see them, they are able to know what to do and refer. Do it the first aid and refer appropriately, because they spend more hours in schools and at home. I know you are, I'm sure two of you sitting in the studio. As children, if your parents say, look, I'm going to tell your teacher what you are doing, you know you are going to start sitting upright, because you know that if they just tell Mrs. or Mr. Z, it's going to be much more than that. So our teachers, we need them on board. They can be empowered. They're already teachers, and they are low-hanging fruits already for us. They're already there in the system. They're already teaching the children. So empowering them to get the requisite skills and expertise to be able to help our children is doable, is achievable, and that time should be now.
All right, let's bring it back home, which is also the second part of our major reason why we're discussing this today, the impact of stardom on kids, because we even know that even in adulthood, right, when there's a certain period where you are relevant for, and after that period of when you're no longer relevant, we've seen adults get depressed, right, and they are feeling like, oh, I'm not who I used to be. They're not able to do the things they used to do because they used to be superstars. So now let's bring that back to kids, because after a certain period, they stop being child stars. They are looking for them for other roles, and most cases they probably don't fit into other roles, or they've developed interest in other things and they don't fit into what. How do we manage stardom for child stars, and what are some of the impact of stardom on kids?
Stardom is something sometimes it is two ways. Either you grow into it or it hits you unexpectedly. It's how you manage the situation. As a child star, most likely you are going to have your parents, or they'll get you a professional manager to manage you. Those people, because you are a minor, they play a very vital role in either making you or breaking you. So those people, they are very key. If they don't do the right thing, whatever we do right now in the world, we're always talking about what factor? Impact factor and sustainability factor. So how they manage that child star can make a lot of difference. That movie Pepper Soup, one of the things I brought out there is the fact that when you have a child star, that you are managing, as a manager, you must also make sure you abstain from drugs. They are still modeling. You are still mirroring your behavior and things that you do. You must stay away from drugs, or even encouraging them to do drugs. And because their brain is still developing, it's very easy for the damages that may occur not to be reversible. So those things are very key. Those things, we need to nip them in the bud. And then as that child star grows, the person managing that child must make sure they put in place something sustainable. This child is not going to be a child forever.
True.
Yeah.
If this child crosses to be a young adult or an adult, what are the other things this child can do? This is where we encourage finding their strengths. Apart from whether acting or doing music or whatever, what are the other things they can do? Explore their strength, expose them to a lot of things that that they are good at. So if at the end, and maybe a child started at 4 years and at 25 you said, I don't want to do music again, what are those other things that this child is good at that you can harness? That it wouldn't look as if his life is now stagnant, it's no longer relevant. So it's good, expose them to a lot of activities, find their strengths, encourage them, be their role model. Right. Even if you are a parent and you are supporting this child, also make sure you give them a mentor.
Right.
I'm a musician. Burna Boy's mom, like the example he gave, is a momager, right? But she must also make sure that Burna Boy has a mentor, somebody who will inspire, coach him to greatness, because there is always that emotional link between a parent and a child. So all those things kind of help, so that the child will not feel stagnant, will not feel, as if my life has ended, and at the end of the day, anxiety setting, depression setting. In order to manage depression, most times drug abuse, because they are taking something to alleviate their mood and get better. And that becomes a vicious circle. And person's career just dies naturally. All of a sudden, we are all looking for the person online and we can't find the person. What happened to XYZ? Oh, well, it's no longer a child star, but we don't know what happened. Poor management.
All right,
Love
Ma.
to see.
Like I said earlier, we know you're very busy and we have to let you go. But final question for you before we let you go. You know, you were talking about reaction of parents. A lot of parents tend to react than they listen, right? And we also have some kids that do not speak. Instead, they begin to lock themselves up in their rooms or spend more time at a friend's house than they spend in their own home. You know, what are the signs? I'm not the professional here. I'm just saying some of the things that I know. But what are the, you know, some early signs of detection of depression in kids, especially in kids?
So good question. Children don't exhibit classical symptoms the way adults do exhibit classical symptoms. So one of the very important way parents get to know that something is wrong with their children is poor academic performance, right? But again, before then, one thing parents need to watch out for is change. What has changed in your child that is making you concerned or worried? Is the child now withdrawing to him or herself more? So there's usually that breakfast or dinner time for everybody, and this child is no longer coming out the way he used to come out. Is this child now having more mood swings than before, or even becoming more irritable and angry? Because it's not always on the other side, it may be on this other side of irritability and anger. Is this child, consistently maybe becoming out of order? Talk to you anyhow, behave anyhow, things like that. So these are some of the things I believe parents should also look out for. Sleeping excessively or not even sleeping at all, change in appetite. So the watchword is, what has changed in my child today that wasn't there yesterday that I have to look out for the future? So appetite change, sleep pattern changes, mood swings, withdrawing to themselves, either becoming irritable or angry, very sad. But poor academic performance usually is one thing that parents normally know that there's something wrong with their children. And of course, that should be nipped in the bud. Like I said, parents, don't be in denial. And when these issues come, don't trivialize them. It's good to, seek for help on time, because we know prevention is better than cure. But if it has already happened, don't cast and bind. It's a spiritual attack. Somebody is after me. It is devil. It is my neighbor. It is. It is not. Things happen. Sometimes it's because one or both of the parents had already existing mental illness. And because of that, the child is at risk and vulnerable to have a mental illness. Or somebody in the family seeking for help. Mental illnesses are treatable, beatable, and manageable. Wow. And it's very important that we understand that these mental illnesses, they are under the group of non-communicable diseases like hypertension and diabetes. Help is available. And we want everybody to go reach out there and get that much needed help that we all need.
Well said.
Okay.
Thank you very
Thank
much for
you,
being
Ma.
here with us and sipping tea with us. Thank you very much. We appreciate you always. All right.
Have a lovely day.
And tea time continues right after this music break. Stay with us.